everybody. This is Christiana coming to you live from the Longmont Yarn Shop. It is 4 o'clock, so welcome to Fiber at 4. Well, last week we talked about back to school and classes and all that, and I was thinking, kind of keeping along the academic theme, we should look at books this week. So, as anyone in my family will tell you, if there is one thing I love almost as much as yarn, it is books, actually. I think I love books and yarn equally. I've got more books than I've got yarn, if you can imagine that. So, but
you use up the yarn.
I do use up the yarn, yeah, but I reread books all the time. Every time I'm in a bookstore, okay, funny story, I know this is, I'm bunny trailing here a little bit, but I had jury duty a couple weeks ago, and we were given a 2-hour break, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do for 2 hours? It's not enough time to drive home and come back, so actually it was exactly the right amount of time to just drive home and then drive back. So I found a little coffee shop, and I just happened to look next door, and there was a bookstore. So I sat in there for 2 hours. But they didn't mind me sitting there because I think I walked out of there with about $60 worth of books. So they were cool.
Liked you a lot.
Oh, they loved me.
Yeah.
So, but I digress. I love books, and I found some great books to share with you guys tonight. And the first one I want to show you guys, and all of these books are available on the Fiber at 4 shopping page, so it's a little easier to find. Hey, Mom! So I tried to cover a broad range of topics, but after I got this all planned out, I realized I forgot rug hooking. So I apologize, but I will plan something for rug hooking a couple weeks down the road. So the first book I wanted to show you guys, I'm so excited about this book. I bought a copy of this book as soon as we opened the box that it was in. So this is Knitting the National Parks, and this is by Nancy Bates, who, if I may add, will be our guest at Fiberside Chats on October 9th, promoting this wonderful book. What this book is it's 63 hat designs based on national parks. And being the Colorado girl that I am, I found all 4 of the Colorado patterns first before I looked at anything else. So in this book, there is a hat for Rocky Mountain National Park, there's a hat for the Great Sand Dunes, there's a hat for Mesa Verde, and the one that I'm going to be making as soon as I get a few more things crossed off my to-do list, the Black Canyon of the Gunnison hat. Isn't that hat so cool? I've even got the yarn to make it. I have to cross some things off my to-do list first. But there are over 63 hats in here, or about 63. And I know this one is for the Acadia National Park in Maine, but it looks like an aspen tree, so that works for Colorado too. So this is the Rocky Mountain National Park hat. And I'm kind of in love with that hat too. I think before it's all said and done, I'm going to make all 4 Colorado hats out of this book, but there's also, and I should have marked it because this hat was absolutely beautiful. It was a park in Nevada, where most of my family is from, if I may add. And it's probably going to take me a minute to find it, but there's Crater Lake in Oregon, Death Valley, California. Here we go, the Great Basin in Nevada. Isn't that stunning? That is such a beautiful hat. So, Knitting the National Parks by Nancy Bates, who will be our Fiberside Chat guest on October 9th. This book is $35, and it is going fast because this is a super awesome book. And I love, love, love making hats. So I'm kind of in a hat making frame of mind right now. But I'll revisit the hat making subject in a couple books that I have over here. My next book is One Skein Wonders for Babies. Just checking to make sure my microphone isn't flopping around. This book is $19.95, and I am a huge fan of the One Skein Wonders series. They have just the plain old One Skein Wonders, there's designer One Skein Wonders, luxury yarn One Skein Wonders, crochet One Skein Wonders, so on and so forth. Why I am such a huge fan of these books is that it's not just one project. So it's not like a book completely of sweaters or a book completely of hats. It is a nice mixture of projects. Hey, Nancy. So, and it is no different with the One Skein Wonders wonders for babies. This is, I believe all these projects are knit. And I will show you what I mean about there being a nice mixture of projects in here. First of all, she has some sets. This is the Clarendon baby vest and hat, and oh my gosh, isn't that adorable? I would wear that if that pattern were in my size. And I thought this was absolutely stunning. It is a christening gown, but it would also be great for, like, if you're having baby pictures taken. So, isn't that stunning? That is like an heirloom quality project right there. Sorry, it's really, really pretty. Let's see here. They also have accessories in here, so you've got a whole bunch of baby bibs. And this guy's actually made from Blue Sky organic cotton, which we do now carry. It is a worsted weight yarn. So this project is going to knit up super quick. And we all know how messy babies can be, so you can make a bunch of these really, really fast for anyone who has a baby or is expecting. And then, of course, we've got this, let's see here, what's this project called? I just saw the picture and fell in love with it. Scuba the Blanket Buddy. And this is a garter stitch sheep blanket. Isn't that the cutest? And of course, baby projects too are a wonderful way to try out new techniques and new stitches before you make an adult size project. So this is a good way to get started. And you might be saying, well, I don't have any babies in my life. Well, there are always places to donate baby items that are in desperate need for baby items. Hi, Marcia. So even if you don't have anyone in your life right now to make baby items for, this is a good warm-up to adult projects, and it's a great way to help out people who need baby items. So again, that is $19.95 for 101 one-skein wonders for babies. Okay, so I might be a little biased, but I pulled 4 crochet books. So, the first one I want to share with you guys is, this is an international bestseller, and for very, very good reason. It is Edward's Menagerie by Carrie Lord, who is from Toft. Toft is the crochet amigurumi kits, all the different animals and everything. So a lot of these projects may look familiar because some of them are Toft kits. The book is $22.99, and it's actually celebrating, I believe, its 10-year anniversary this year. But this has most of her basic critters, and she keeps adding more to it, so she keeps releasing more books. But what I love about this particular book, and all of Carrie's books for that matter, is she gives you instructions on how to change the yarn weight and hook size to make different sized animals. So we've got fine yarn, DK yarn, Aran or worsted, and chunky yarn. I do have to let you know though, crocheters out there, this book is written in United Kingdom terminology, which is different than United States terminology. So every time she says in here double crochet in US terminology, that is a single crochet. So just keep that in mind when you're making these guys. And if you're familiar at all with the Toft kits, you know that they do range in size. She has, levels. She has skill levels 1, 2, and 3. Skill level 1 is basically if you have no crochet experience whatsoever, if you've never held a hook, that's where you would start, is with level 1. And level 1 includes Emma the Bunny. This was the first Edward's Menagerie project that Carrie designed. And to this day, in kit form, this is their best-selling kit, is Emma the Bunny. And she is level 1, so you're working with just no color changes, basic shaping, and very basic stitches. So when you get to level 2 even isn't really that hard. So once you have your level 1 skills down, you move on to level 2. And level 2 has just basic color changes. So this is Penelope the bear, and she only has one color change here on her snout. So it's taking those skills you learned in the level 1 and just kind of adding to it in that level 2. Then level 3, again, Level 3 is not very difficult, so don't get nervous. Level 3 is going to incorporate more color changes and more shaping. So for example, you've got Caitlin the giraffe here. And as you can see, Caitlin has more color changes in the body. So that means you're going to be carrying 2 yarns at the same time when you're making her body. She's got color changes up here and on her snout as well. So basically you start at the level 1, you build those basic skills, and then you add on with each progressive level. And super, super fun critters. Oh my gosh, look at this. Isn't this great? I am a huge fan of stuffed toys, amigurumi, that sort of thing. So this is a wonderful, wonderful book. So this is $22.99. This is the original Edwards Menagerie. Keep watching the website if you're looking for more of the Toft books. We will be getting more in a couple weeks. So that is the first Edwards Menagerie. Next, I have spoken of this book many, many, many times, but I cannot emphasize enough that I think every crocheter should have this on their shelf. This is Melissa Leitman's Indispensable Stitch Collection for Crocheters. Excuse me. This book is $24.99. So this is not a Learn-To book. This is a, oh gosh, thank you. Okay, I'll put this on pause just for a second. Let me move my microphone. This is, I think it's pronounced Quindinsey shawl by Casapinka, who I am a monster fan of. And I'll just take it off and show you guys real quick. So, I am a huge fan of her stuff because she changes her stitches up so much, and it keeps me from getting bored. And if you're curious about the yarn, this yarn was dyed by a very dear friend of mine, Allie Pate from Road Trip Sock Yarn, who, spoiler alert, did our 10-year anniversary yarn, which will be debuting exactly 1 week from today. So be sure to tune into Fiber at 4, and I'm going to slip this guy back on. I love using Allie's yarn because she does donate profits to help homeless kitty cats, and I'm allergic to cats, so I can't have one, but if I can help them, that makes me feel a little better. Hi, Lynn. Alrighty, so back to Melissa Leitman's book. This is not a Learn-To crochet book. This is purely a stitch dictionary. You are more than welcome, Lori, and I think it's spelled Q-U-I-N-D-I-C-I. It's a Casapinka. If you see Casapinka on Ravelry, you'll be able to find this guy. So what Melissa has done is she has started with very basic stitches. So we've got in here solid stitches. So you've got your basic solid singles, doubles, and working in the front versus back loop. So it's not a Learn-To book, but it's kind of another one of those things where it starts very basic and adds on to those skills. Okay. Next we've got crocheted cables. I love, love, love crocheted cables. Crocheters out there, if you have not tried crocheted cables, I highly recommend it. It's a lot different from knitting cables because you don't need extra equipment to do it like you do in knitting. And then she also has a section of colorwork stitches, which I love those. And this book is so very well organized. If you're looking for something specific, like a shell stitch, there's a shell section, so you can choose from a bunch of different shell stitches. And also too, she has a bunch of edgings in here, so great for edges on sweaters, blankets. It's super simple to use this, so if you have something in mind, you chain X many stitches and then you take it from there with the different stitches. There's also, and I didn't mark this, I apologize, there's right there a herringbone stitch, which I have done before, and that's really, really fun. It makes a really neat sweater. So again, Melissa Leitman's Indispensable Stitch Collection for Crocheters, $24.99. And guys, I have seriously used mine so much, it is falling apart. This is a good book. I can't recommend it enough. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a huge Melissa Liebman fan. I'm saying that because this is a really good book.
But
All
you
right.
are a huge Melissa Lee.
I am a huge Melissa Liebman fan.
Okay, so what am I looking for? QUI?
Quindici, I think it's Quindici, I want to
Under
say.
Casa Pinka?
Yeah, under Casa Pinka, yeah. So Marianne's gonna put this Casa Pinka pattern in the chat line. And if we don't find it before we're done here, we'll feed it in afterwards.
Farmer.
So my next book is another person I'm a huge fan of. This is the Tunisian Crochet Handbook, A Beginner's Guide by Toni Lipsy. Again, ladies and gentlemen, look these two wonderful women up on Ravelry. They are so talented, and both of them are incredibly good teachers. So this is a wonderful book if you're interested in Tunisian but don't know where to start. More confident crocheter than a knitter. I love doing both, so I guess it just depends on my mood what I want to do. But Toni does also have a YouTube channel where she has technique videos, and she's just a sweetheart. Oh my gosh, I got to talk to her for a couple minutes last time she had a fireside chat with us, and she is just too cool for words. So this book is a fantastic reference book if you're wanting to learn Tunisian, because she goes through all the tools and materials that you're going to need. And she's literally going through from start to finish. And then here, there is a section in here I'm kind of glossing over. It's instructions on how to get started, but then she also has your Tunisian stitches. And then she has a whole bunch of wonderful projects in here. I just chose to show this one because I think it'll show up best on camera. This is the Ashford striped pillow. That is so cool. But she's got everything in here from sweaters to shawls to accessories to home decor. So this is an awesome book. Oh, and this hat. I love this hat. Here. I need a Tunisian book Christmas idea. Okay, Mom, thanks. Not to brag, but I have an autographed copy of this book. And so does Teresa. Woo-hoo! This book is $24.99, and it is a wonderful book to have in your library. Toni's amazing. I need that book too. Yes, Toni is amazing, and this literally goes from start to finish, from picking your tools and yarn to finishing and binding the project off, because unlike traditional crochet, you do have to bind Tunisian off like you would a knit project. Well, I just happened to be on Toni's email list, and they said, hey, you can get an autographed copy. I'm like, sign me up. So this is $24.99, and it's not only good for people beginning Tunisian, this is a great book to go back and reference if you get a little stuck. So this, again, two books that I think every crocheter needs to have on their shelves. And yeah, and she has an amazing pattern library on Ravelry. It's not just Tunisian, she has a lot of traditional crochet too. And I believe she is still doing knit and crochet now on PBS and Create, so be on the lookout for that. All right. So these two books kind of coincide, but seeing as I'm on a crochet kick right now, I'll show the crochet one first. This is Easy Crochet Dishcloths. We have had this book in the past, and we did bring it back. She does. Okay, thanks, Lori. This is $12.99, and I've also got the Easy Knit Dishcloths, also $12.99. The reason why I wanted to show these books is for two reasons. First of all, dishcloths, we're getting into the gift giving season. It's coming up faster than we would care to admit. But dishcloths are wonderful gifts because they're quick to make. You can make a bunch of them. What I like to do is make a stack of them, fold them neatly, tie a pretty ribbon around them, and give that as a gift. They're incredibly useful to have for whomever is receiving the gift. They can be used on your skin. They could be used in kitchen usage. So these are not only great gifts to give, they're fun to make, and they're incredibly useful. So the second second reason I wanted to show you guys these books is dishcloths are kind of similar to baby projects in that this is a good way to practice any new stitches or new skills before you fully commit to a larger project like a blanket or a sweater. So let's say you find a stitch in Melissa Leitman's book that you want to try out. Make a dishcloth, practice it, and then apply it. So both of these books have how-to tips, how to get started, but they also have amazing dishcloth patterns that vary in skill levels. You've got basic V-stitches in the crochet one, and we've got front post double crochet cloths. They had a really good picture in here of a whole bunch of them. Oh, zigzag. Those of us who love our crochet zigzags. And these stitches too, there's your front loop single crochets. These would make also excellent like hand towels. Just make them a little bit bigger and longer and just keep crocheting away until you have a dish towel. So it's the same thing with the knitted ones. They have in here a super, super basic washcloths all the way up to washcloths or dishcloths, whichever you prefer to call it, with cables. This one's a broken basket weave. And this looks like a faux cable to me. It is a faux cable. How about that? So not only are these good reference books just to have on your shelf, but these would also make great gift items for anyone who's a beginning knitter or crocheter. So they're $12.99, so that's easy knit dishcloths and easy crochet dishcloths. I'm gonna grab a sip of tea real quick. Alright. Just making sure that microphone isn't flopping over again. So the next book I have to show you is Knitting Rules. This is by Stephanie Pearl McPhee. Stephanie will be our guest on Fiberside Chats on October 23rd. And I have to tell you all, the last time she was on Fiberside Chats, that was the biggest enrollment we have ever had in Fiberside. We actually had to get an extra Zoom room for her chat because it filled up so quickly. Can you put a list of all the book names? Marcia, the books that I am showing tonight are on the Fiber at 4 shopping category. I'll have Marianne feed it into the chat line so that you can see it a little easier. So Stephanie Pearl McPhee is absolutely hilarious, and I know my mom's read all her books. I think Mom actually you own most, if not all, of her books. And she keeps you engaged and she keeps you laughing, and it's one of those things where you're sitting here reading this and you're thinking, yep, done that, yep, done that. And I know it's called Knitting Rules, but honestly, a bunch of these apply to us crocheters as well. So I thought I'd read off some of the names of the chapters in here so you can get an idea of how absolutely wonderfully, funnily charming this woman is. Chapter 1 is, what is knitting and how does it get like this? Chapter 2, excuse me, yarn and how to not feel guilty about it. That's the chapter I need to read. 3 is know your stuff. 4 is gauge swatches and learning to accept them, because we should all be doing gauge swatches before we make sweaters or anything fitted. And she talks about hats, socks, scarves, and shawls, and sweaters. So going back to the whole hat thing, she has in here 10 reasons to knit hats. And I will read a couple of them to you. I won't read all 10 of them. So number 1, I know certain somebody's going to get a kick out of the first 4 words of this one. Your mother was right. Again, 30 to 50% of our body heat is lost through the head. This means that for much less knitting, yarn, and time, hats are at least as warm as sweaters. This is good news for knitters who, like Stephanie, live in Canada and have a short attention span. And that way I'm a little like Stephanie Pearl McPhee. I do not live in Canada, but have a short attention span sometimes. Number 2, hacks appear to be excluded from the normal rules and restrictions that picky people make up about their wardrobes. A man or woman who won't wear colors or stripes or anything that falls out of an extremely personal and inflexible set of guidelines will often break their own rules for a hat. So I thought that was great. So it's kind of like a technique book, kind of an advice book, all wrapped up in a very humorous shell. So this book is $14.99, and it's just a good book. So that is Knitting Rules by Stephanie Pearl McPhee, and honestly, again, a lot of this will apply to crocheters as well. Sorry, I need to grab another sip of tea. All right. So, leaving the knitting and crocheting universe for a little while, I just had to show you guys this book. We have all fallen in love with it, and I'm actually surprised that we still have copies of this on the shelf and that it hasn't been bought up by staff members here. This is Little Felted Dogs. So this is a needle felting book. And this book is $14.99, and this is a great felting book because it's kind of like the Tunisian book, where it starts at the very, very beginning and goes all the way through to the end of your project. So this has what is needle felting, all the tools required, and a wool guide, a color guide, and then of course you get into the projects. Yeah, digital scale is very, very handy in these guys because you need to be able to measure the weight of your wool. It's not like knitting or crocheting where you can just say the yardage. So the first one I wanted to show you guys was the Old English Sheepdog. Isn't that adorable? For those of you who have lived in the Boulder County area for a while, Shuttles, Spindles, and Skeins, our former shop out in Boulder that we missed terribly. One of the owners had Old English Sheepdogs, and she would bring them in every time she was working. And frankly, there were times I'd want to go to Shuttles just to see the dog, but I'm a dog person, so Old English Sheepdog, and salute to Shuttles, Spindles, and Skeins. We miss you guys. And this one I just had to show because I knew my mom would be watching. There's a Roxy, Mom, otherwise known as a Chihuahua. And these books have wonderful instructions, not only on how to sculpt the wool, which is essentially what you're doing is you're sculpting with a soft material. It also instructs you how to add in the beaded eyes and nose and everything. Oh my gosh, there's a dog. Isn't that cute? So this is a great book, great for all skill levels. Again, for needle felting, it is recommended for ages 10 and older. Anyone younger than like 14 or 15, I would highly recommend adult supervision because needle felting needles are incredibly sharp, and can be kind of dangerous because they are barbed. So adult supervision is highly, highly recommended for these guys. But this wonderful book is $14.99, and look at that. That's the back of the book. Isn't that cute? So, Little Felted Dogs. That is so, so cute. I wonder if Hannah's bought a copy of this to make her some lead. I don't know. Alrighty, coming back into the knitting and crocheting universe. I know there are a lot of people out there who have started learning knitting and crocheting during the pandemic and are wanting to build their skills. So I've got a couple books to show you guys that will help those of you who are new knitters and crocheters or who just need a reference guide. I love dogs. I do. I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. I have an Edwards Menagerie dog book coming in. So keep watching Facebook and I will post a picture as soon as it comes in because I love my dogs too. So this book is Knitting Know-How, and this has no projects in it. This is purely a technique book. So it starts with everything from choosing your tools, casting on, all the way through to binding off. So you've got in here, first of all, I love books that do this, that have the little flap on the jacket so you can mark your place in the book, because I'm always losing bookmarks. But I'll show you here. So they've got choosing your needles and the difference between the circulars, double points, and single points. And there's also a US to Canadian and European conversion chart in here, which is absolutely awesome. Because every now and then you do come across a European pattern where they do not have the US size in the needles. So this is a good reference point to go back and look. So you've got all your tools and the standard yarn weight chart. This is a great reference. Even if you're an advanced knitter, it's always great to have something like that handy. And they have common abbreviations in here, basic skills, so how to hold your needles, how to cast on. And this also has stitches, different types of stitches in here. I want to say they have chart symbols in here, but I'm not 100% positive. They do give you a breakdown of all the stitch abbreviations and what they mean, which is great when you're first learning, because let's face it, when you're first learning and you first look at a knitting pattern, it's like looking at computer code. None of it makes sense. So they have the breakdown of all the different abbreviations. How to shape, this is a great one. So they go over your increases and decreases. And again, this is a super, super basic book. So if you're looking for something a little bit more in depth on binding on, casting off, increasing, decreasing, we do have some other reference guides in the shop. They also have instructions on how to knit with beads. So, and the breakdown of the different parts of the anatomy of a sock. So this is a great, great book for new knitters. It's a great reference book for more experienced knitters who just need something to go back and kind of refresh their memory on something. So this book, does not have a price on it.
Oops. I'll find it.
The crochet one doesn't have one either.
Oops.
Okay, I'm assuming they're going to be the same though, because they're the same company. So while Mary Ann's looking up the price,
$16.99.
$16.99. Thank you. Okay, so these books are $16.99. So we do also have the Crochet Know-How book. Again, no projects in this book. It is purely a technique guide. However, you can take some of the stitches and granny squares in this book and create your own project. This book has the same sort of instructions as the knitting one, how to choose your hook, how to start, how to hold your hook, how to hold your yarn. This also has crocheting with beads. This guide does have chart abbreviations in it too, along with the stitch abbreviations. So this book will also help you learn how to read crochet charts. Charts are used a lot in color work, both in knitting and crocheting. Charts are used a lot in color work, lace work, and cable work. So a lot of people I know who know how to crochet do not know how to read a chart. And it's incredibly helpful to know, because there are a lot of patterns out there that are relying just on the chart for the instructions. The instructions are not written out. So that's another great skill to have in your back pocket, both for knitting and crocheting. So these books are both $16.99, and they both have excuse me, very basic instructions all the way up to different stitches. This book has granny squares. Excuse me. So, great reference book and great book for beginning knitters and crocheters. Sorry. Believe it or not, there's a lot of fiber in the air around here, so it gets caught in my throat.
Say it ain't so.
I know, fiber in a yarn shop, imagine that.
Imagine.
So I'm going off camera because I forgot to take something out of my bag here. So my last book for tonight, as I keep inhaling more and more fiber, is the Weaver's Idea book. This is a terrific book. It's sort of on the same lines as my Melissa Leitman book and my Toni Lipsy book. This is a great book for any weaver to have on their shelf. This book was written by Jane Patrick, but her intern was our own Sarah Goldenberg
didn't know that.
Yep, Sarah helped write this book.
I bet I didn't.
So this goes all the way from plain weave to pick-up sticks to anything that you might want to use on your rigid heddle loom. This guy also has different seaming stitches for on the edges, so hand stitching. And my favorite that one of these days I'm going to get a lot better at is medallions. The reason why I love this is because you need a crochet hook in order to do it, so I'm combining my crocheting and my weaving. So these are called Danish medallions, and I practiced it just a little bit, excuse me, on this fun little swatchy thing that I did when I first got my Cricut. So this book also, another thing I'm kind of in love with, is adding beads to your project. So, and I love the fact too that it is spiral bound. So you can open it up to whatever stitch you want to do and it stays open. Ooh, love it, yeah. I got this book from my mom for Christmas one year after I got my Cricut for my birthday. So this is a wonderful, wonderful book. It is $29.99 and just a great reference book for weavers. And if you don't know how to weave but you'd like to learn, Sarah has a whole bunch of weaving classes coming up. Sorry, I keep inhaling more and more fiber. So Sarah is a great instructor and I can't recommend her classes enough. I was able to take her class in person before the pandemic hit, and then I was able to proctor her classes over Zoom when we were doing completely on Zoom, and so I got a little refresher, and she's just an amazing instructor. Can't recommend her enough. You need to take a class with her if you want to learn how to weave. Excuse me. So that is all I have for you guys tonight. So I hope you find books that you love, you use them. I love books. And I hope you all come back next week because we're going to have a special Fiber at 4. It's not going to be just me. It's going to be me and a bunch of other people because we are celebrating our 10-year anniversary. Excuse me. So I hope to see you guys all next week. And have a lovely rest of your weekend.